Unrest rocks Tehran. Thousands demand change. The world watched as news tickers flashed urgent updates. Helicopters circled above the city's skyline. Streets filled with chanting crowds waving banners. Smoke curled up from burning tires. International reporters scrambled to broadcast the latest developments. Beijing's leaders sat tensely in their offices, eyes glued to screens, knowing that every shift in Iran could send shockwaves through China's own plans. Inside China's foreign ministry, red phones lit up. Analysts pored over satellite images and translated Twitter feeds. The mood was anxious, almost electric. The question on everyone's mind: what next for Iran, and what does it mean for China? This wasn't just about distant protests. For Beijing, Iran's fate was tied to its own energy security and global ambitions. The stakes could not be higher. Right away, the crisis in Iran was more than a headline. It was a warning bell for China's leaders. They knew that whatever happened in Tehran would ripple outward, touching oil markets, alliances, and even the delicate balance with the West. China's Iran problem had just become urgent and painfully real. China runs on energy. Its factories, cities, and transport networks need oil, lots of it. For years, Iran has been a key supplier. Even as global sanctions tried to stop the flow, tankers disguised their origins, changing flags at sea. Traders use creative paperwork to keep oil moving. For Beijing, Iranian energy is a matter of national security. If that oil stopped, prices would spike and factories might slow down. Iran offers oil at a discount and sells even when others won't. For China, keeping this oil lifeline open is a shield against instability. Buying oil from Iran isn't easy. International sanctions make it tricky, but China finds a way. Deals happen in the shadows, quiet, creative, and often hidden from view. Chinese companies use front businesses or third countries to mask deals. Payments are sometimes made in yuan, gold, or even bartered goods. Some tankers turn off their tracking systems, sailing dark across the ocean. These secretive deals come with risks. If caught, Chinese companies can face heavy fines. Still, cheap oil keeps Chinese industries humming, and Iran gets much-needed cash to fund its government. This shadowy trade builds trust between China and Iran. For China, it's a way to push back against Western dominance. But if there's a big change in Iran, the whole system could collapse overnight. Iran is more than just an oil supplier to China. It's a vital political ally. Both countries share a deep mistrust of Western powers, especially the United States. This shared suspicion has brought them closer over the years. Together, they often vote the same way in the United Nations. They support each other when facing criticism about human rights or foreign policy. China also needs partners in the Middle East. The region is unstable, and Western influence runs deep. By backing Iran, China balances against American military bases and alliances nearby. Iran, for its part, welcomes Beijing's support as a shield against international pressure. This partnership isn't just talk. China has invested billions in Iranian infrastructure, roads, railways, and pipelines. There are joint projects under the Belt and Road Initiative, linking East Asia to Europe through Iran. For China, these bridges mean influence, markets, and easier access to vital resources, yet the relationship isn't always smooth. Iran can be unpredictable, and its internal politics are complex. Still, for China, having a friendly regime in Tehran is key to its regional strategy. Losing that could mean losing ground to rivals, both local and global. Iran sits at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. Its location is a dream for anyone who wants to trade or move goods quickly across continents. For China's Belt and Road Initiative, Iran is the heart of the modern Silk Road. Railways from China pass through Central Asia and Iran, reaching Europe in record time. This overland route is crucial for Beijing. It shortens shipping times, reduces costs, and avoids risky sea routes controlled by rival navies. Iran's ports along the Persian Gulf also give China access to new markets and resources. Every year, more Chinese goods travel through Iranian highways, railways, and ports. But it's not just about moving containers. Control over these routes means power. If China can keep its supply chain safe and open, it can outcompete rivals and secure its economic future. That's why Beijing invests heavily in Iranian infrastructure, sending engineers, planners, and money. If Iran's government changes or turns hostile, China could lose access overnight. All the investments, trade deals, and dreams of a new Silk Road would be at risk. That's why Iran's stability is a top concern in Beijing's foreign policy playbook. Every few years, talk of regime change in Iran resurfaces. Sometimes it's sparked by protests and sometimes by international pressure. For China, these rumors are more than just background noise, they signal danger. If Iran's current government falls, everything could change in an instant. A new government might not want close ties with China. It could open up to the West, join new alliances, or even cut off deals that Beijing depends on. Chinese companies could lose contracts overnight. Infrastructure built by China might be handed over to other powers or just left to rot. Worse, regime change often brings chaos. In the short term, protests and violence could disrupt oil shipments and trade routes. In the long term, new leaders might blame China for supporting the old regime, and that could lead to hostility or even sanctions against Chinese interests. China's leaders remember what happened in other countries after regime change, like Libya or Iraq. Promises made one day can be broken the next. The only certainty is uncertainty. For China, this is honestly a nightmare scenario that could set back its Middle Eastern strategy by years. Imagine this. A new Iranian president appears on state TV, promising to open up to the West. American and European diplomats rush to Tehran, eager to sign new deals. Old alliances are forgotten. Chinese business people in Tehran scramble to pack their offices and leave. Projects are halted mid-construction, equipment abandoned. Meanwhile, oil shipments stop. Chinese factories back home face shortages, prices spike. The global oil market is thrown into chaos. Other major suppliers use the crisis to demand higher prices from Beijing. At the same time, Western companies rush in, replacing Chinese deals with their own. China also fears a domino effect. If Iran's regime falls, could other partners in the region follow? Could China's whole Middle East strategy unravel? This worry keeps Beijing's diplomats and planners up at night. They know how quickly alliances can crack and how hard it is to rebuild trust once it's gone. The worst-case scenario is clear. China could lose energy security, key trade routes, and billions in investments, all almost overnight. That's why Beijing works so hard to keep close ties with Iran, no matter the risks. In Beijing, energy officials meet in modern towers, tracking oil prices and shipments on giant screens. They know every delay in Iran means trouble at home. One analyst watches a map where dozens of red dots mark tankers stuck off Iran's coast, unable to sail because of political unrest. In Tehran, Chinese engineers work late into the night on railway projects. They share meals with Iranian colleagues, talking about family, football, and the uncertainty of the future. If things change, will we have to leave? One asks, glancing at the local news on his phone. The answer is never clear. Chinese students in Tehran study Persian and business, hoping for careers in a country that could change overnight. Shopkeepers in Beijing's Iranian neighborhoods worry about relatives back home. They browse headlines anxiously, knowing that distant politics could decide their futures. These daily realities show how interconnected China and Iran have become. For many, the fate of both countries feels personal and immediate, a reminder that politics aren't just debated in palaces, but lived by ordinary people every day. China's Iran problem is about much more than oil or politics. It's a test of Beijing's ability to manage risk, build alliances, and protect its interests in a changing world. If Iran remains friendly and stable, China can keep its energy flowing, its trade routes open, and its influence growing. That's the dream. But if regime change comes, the risks are huge. China could lose trusted partners, assets, and access to crucial resources. Its Belt and Road ambitions might stall, and its standing in the Middle East could weaken. On the other hand, some argue that change might also bring new opportunities, better trade deals, or maybe a more balanced relationship with Iran's people, not just its leaders. For now, China must walk a fine line. It must support Iran, but also prepare for any outcome. The world is watching, and every move counts. What happens next in Tehran will shape not just Iran's future, but China's place in the world. In the end, China's challenge is clear: adapt, invest wisely, and never take any ally or any risk for granted. The stakes could not be higher.